Michael Schumacher's the man at Manicourt. He's won the French Grand Prix 3 times. He comes here on the back of a victory in Canada that's angered his fellow drivers. But Mika Häkkinen's on pole and odds on for the championship.
It's a typically changeable day at Manicourt. Sunny one moment, cloudy the next. We're expecting a very interesting French Grand Prix. Good afternoon. We're at the halfway stage in the championship, hitting the fast tracks of Europe. This one has all the makings. Mika Häkkinen's on pole. OK, we've seen that before, but Michael Schumacher is closer than ever. We've a revealing interview with Schumacher coming up. Villeneuve, he's leading the challenge for the Williams team, the world champion right back there in the mix, and Coulthard and Irvine, they're up there too. Britain's Damon Hill, he isn't far away after enjoying just about his best qualifying session of the year. James Allen reporting.
It was a blustery afternoon at Manicourt, far from the scorching conditions that had been predicted. But Michael Schumacher was hoping to put the wind up McLaren. Armed with the new Goodyear tyre, Michael set the early pace, but clearly had more in hand. Mika Häkkinen then gave an indication of what he thought the pole time should be. But Schumacher clearly disagreed. With 14 minutes left, Häkkinen settled the debate once and for all. But what of the rest? Well, David Coulthard was never really in the hunt, but he managed to edge out a hard-charging Eddie Irvine, who impressed everyone by getting to within 0.4 of a second of teammate Michael Schumacher. Jacques Villeneuve got among the big boys with 5th place in the Williams, just ahead of the 2 Jordans, who enjoyed their best team performance of the season in 6th and 7th. Pedro Diniz had a frightening moment in the Arrows. While Jos Verstappen's 15th place is higher than anything Jan Magnussen had managed all year in the 2nd Stewart. It was a bad day for the Prost team on their home track. Jarno Trulli was 12th, Olivier Panis really struggling.
He knows every inch of this tarmac. He will be destroyed to be back there in 16th place.
But the 5th pole in 8 races for Mika Häkkinen.
I knew the car is good and I knew I can do the job. And I did it, and they stayed behind, and the difference for them was about 0.2 of the second, which is, in terms of racing terms, 0.2 of the second is a lot.
Well, I'm confident we can fight for a podium. More than that, we'll need Michael and Mika to kick each other out.
We're pretty happy and looking forward to the race tomorrow. I mean, we saw a few times this year that we were pretty good in qualifying. Now is the time to be good in race as well, and I hope that I'm able to.
In the end, a couple of key corners, I just didn't have the stability I needed under braking, so I couldn't carry the speed in, and that's enough just to take a 10th here and a 10th there. So in the end, my attention changed to making sure that I didn't get pipped by Eddie, and to try and see if I could beat Michael.
I'm confident. I don't know how confident I can be. Depends what is the weather going to do. Hot temperatures going to suit us a little bit more compared to McLaren's or Bridgestone drivers, which is a new experience we have. We always had to wish for cold temperatures. So all in all, we look good for the race.
And so the grid, Häkkinen and Schumacher on the front row. McLaren and Ferrari again, Coulthard and Irvine just behind. Then the threatening Villeneuve. The Jordans hunting those elusive first points. Frentzen very confident about his race setup. The Benettons on the 5th row, disappointing for them. Then Trulli's Prost. Britain's Johnny Herbert. Barrichello just out qualifying his new teammate Verstappen. Then Panis. And further down the back, the usual suspects. Diniz in the Arrows, Rosset in the Tyrrell, Takagi in the 2nd Tyrrell, Salo, and right at the back, those Minardis.
And today I'm glad to say we're joined by Craig Pollock, who won't want to be right at the back in any race next season, heading up a new team, British American Racing, next season. Welcome, Craig. We'll talk in just a moment. Tony Jardine, a usual suspect, is with us as well. Tony, what is it? A second separating the top 6? It looks very competitive.
It's very close indeed, but it's a good championship indicator at this time of year, the halfway point of the season. Schumacher's looking very threatening indeed, but Ferrari need to capitalise on these sort of tracks before McLaren get to the long, fast ones like Hockenheim. The other thing I think we're looking forward to is a great head-to-head this afternoon between Hakkinen and Schumacher. Hakkinen could beat Schumacher fair and square for the first time. I'm looking forward to that contest.
Well, this French Grand Prix is steeped in history. They set the ball rolling at the start of the century. I don't think Murray Walker was there for that one, but he's seen a good few since. Murray.
As ever, Jim, you're absolutely right, because if you're a motor racing buff like me, France means a lot. The first ever Grand Prix was held in France. France produced one of the greatest racing cars there's ever been, Bugatti. Great drivers like Vimille, Chiron and Berra. And of course, Alain Prost has won more Grand Prix than anyone else. Le Mans is the most famous motor race of them all. And until recently, Renault was the engine to beat. France may be struggling for Grand Prix glory right now, with only Prost and Peugeot to uphold its honour. But I'll tell you this, today's French Grand Prix should be a cracker.
It's midpoint of the season and we're at Manicourt in France. 2.64 miles of very smooth tarmac. It's compact and it's technical and it's tough on tyres. We're on board with Alexander Wurz in the Benetton. This is the pit straight. It's very short. Move over to the wall on the right, up to 165 miles an hour. Don't lift the throttle, you're in Grand Curve. Heading towards Estoril, turn 2. Turn in early, 140 miles an hour. Bring it in again for a late apex. Heading then into the straight. Every mile an hour you take out of here, you'll carry down this short straight towards the Adelaide hairpin. You notice it curls round to the right, but the car is easily flat out. Now choose a braking point just after the 100-metre board, down into second gear. First gear for some cars, just 45 miles an hour. Difficult to apply the power on the exit. Wurz working hard at the steering wheel, heading towards the Nürburgring chicane. Just listen as he just briefly lifts the throttle. Hard on the power again towards 180, up to 160 miles an hour. 180-degree corner. You stay in tight here, not the normal racing line. Wait for the power on and away. It's easy through the right-hander. Another short straight towards the Imola chicane. It falls away from you, 110 miles an hour, fourth gear, through the heart of it, and immediately into Chateau d'Eau, the water tower. 80 miles an hour, you have to wait a long time. There's not much grip on the exit. Now you're heading downhill towards the end of the lap. The final chicane, it's out of view, second gear, 60 miles an hour, mind the curbs, they're sharp, a quick stab of the throttle, Lycée the last corner, first gear. And again over the curbs, the wheels are spinning into a new lap for Alexander Wurz.
Alexander Wurz with a bit of work to do today. He starts on the 5th row. OK, let's have a word with Craig Pollock. How tough is it to set up a competitive new team?
Well, I think I'm really about to find that out, but up until now it's been extremely difficult and I couldn't do it all by myself. We've got a fantastic group of people behind us, but I think next year is going to be telling me exactly how tough it is.
Sure, I'm sure a lot of people out there will say, oh, I know that guy from somewhere. They might well have seen you alongside the world champion Jacques Villeneuve, who you manage or used to manage. Are you still in charge of his affairs?
My company still manages him. Obviously, I'm implicated in that. But Jacques today is looked after by a group of young managers that we've trained up over the years, and they're doing a heck of a job now.
How important is it for you not to be running down the back of things, but to be up there very quickly?
I'd say it's extremely important. Today, obviously, we own Tyrrell, and Tyrrell's doing a very impressive job because they're having to keep everybody together. But next year, even the people from Tyrrell, they're looking towards next year. They're not looking towards what's happening at the moment. Everybody wants to look forward. They never, ever want to look backwards. And that's what we have to do at the same time. We want to win. I mean, there's no question about that. But we have no illusions that every team out there wants to win. And they've been in it a lot longer than we have. But maybe we can bring in a little bit of fresh air. Huh?
Was this right that somebody in your organisation said we want to win our first race?
Yes.
Yes, we did. It was Adrian Reynolds.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
We want to, I'd say that we would really like to win in the shortest possible period. We're hiring people, and to hire the best, we've got to give them some hope. And the hope is we're there to win. We've got to give them everything that we have that can make them win. We cannot say we're going out to lose. So.
Craig, you've said that, you know, I have a lack of technical knowledge, but is that going to hinder you in this new job, the new team?
I do have a lack of technical knowledge. There's no question. I'm a teacher. I've gone through business.
Another teacher.
Two teachers over there, yeah.
You see, what do you know about journalism? I've come up through teaching, I've gone into business, I've learned a bit about business, but I'd say probably my forte is in running the business side. And you can't do anything by yourself. You have to have the group of good people behind you. You've got to have experts in all the fields, whether it's designers, engineers, the administrators, the accountants, the lawyers. You cannot do it by yourself. And I think with Adrian, Rick Gorn, with Malcolm Osler, Andy Green, with all the key people in the organisation, and you've got John Dickinson, who's come over from McLaren as the head of research and development. He's been head of research and development there. You've got key people in place, and they're going to help me along.
Okay, great. We'll talk a bit more later on. Let me just remind you of how the drivers stand going into this race, the Drivers' Championship. Hackinen's lead 12 points. Michael Schumacher's now overtaken David Coulthard, but David quickest in this morning's warm-up, by the way. Eddie Irvine so consistent, and Fisichella and Wirtz have pushed the Benettons above Williams. Right, let's hear from Michael Schumacher, accepted as the best driver of them all, but under fire again after clashing with Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Damon Hill in Canada. Michael Schumacher is head of the Grand Prix Drivers Association. He is supposed to set the example. He talks to Martin Brundle in a moment. First, Louise Goodman with a reminder of the incidents that have caused all the problems.
Schumacher's skill is undoubted, but his conduct has often drawn criticism. This controversial move on Villeneuve cost Michael the '97 championship. David Coulthard was on the receiving end of another Ferrari lunge in Argentina, but this time Michael made it count. He was given a 10-second stop-go penalty for punting Frentzen's Williams off the track in Canada, but later Michael accused Damon Hill of dangerous driving.
I don't think there's anything to complain about at all. I mean, it's racing, and if there's any complaints about driving standards coming from him, I think it's a bit rich.
You shouldn't do what you don't want other people to do to you to start with, and you know, if you can sleep with what you're doing, then I guess it's fine for you. But there's a few things that go beyond what I would do myself.
Michael, you've been involved in a lot of controversial incidents on the track in the last few years. Why do you think that is?
I guess because I'm racing in front. If these things would happen in the back, nobody would care. On the other side, I have to fight very hard. And I'd say there are a lot of things which, seen by different eyes, you have always two parties, they see it different ways.
The Hill incident, I've looked at it several times. I can't see that Damon did anything wrong at all, and I think he defended less aggressively than you would have done in that situation, but you were very strong against him. Why?
No, I'm against what Damon did in this moment, because he's a pretty experienced driver. If there's a young driver without any experience, just coming from Formula 3, 3000, it's pretty normal to do it there. Even it shouldn't be allowed there. You should start to use the rule from the beginning, school on. But he's there for many years now. He knows how dangerous it is, what it is. In particular, okay, he fought for the position, but he knew he's so much slower. He knew he's going to go for the pit stop, all this. I know you try to make life difficult, but if you talk to other drivers, you will find the answer is not right.
We'll have to agree to differ on that point, I think. Villeneuve says he wouldn't be able to sleep at night if he did some of the things you've done on the racetrack. How do you take that kind of criticism?
I mean, I don't want to talk about Villeneuve, to be honest. There's no point. It doesn't make sense.
Well, you don't respect what he's got to say. You don't think it's thought out or what?
No, to me, he develops to second hill at the moment. I mean, he takes every opportunity to criticize myself without being involved, doing similar things. I mean, remember Japan last year? He drove zigzagging after the start. He came out of the pits. He nearly took me off the road there. So did Heinz-Harald with Irvine. And those guys now screaming and talking. I mean, you have to see things from two sides, and you have to see the global picture. Now they're trying to make me the bad boy. Racing is hard, it's competition. I'm not here to give presents, but I'm clearly saying I haven't done anything purposely to Heinz-Harald. I did something which you can argue, was it right, was it wrong? On the other side, there was no blue flag man indicating me there is coming someone. I tried to look as much as I could. I didn't see him, so what can I do?
Can't you guys sort this out between you behind closed doors? It's great for the Formula One viewers, but it's turning into a very public sort of schoolboy fight, really.
What I believe should happen is we should have a consistent factor judge. We should have probably 2-3 experienced people, maybe old drivers, sitting there watching the TV and saying, that's right, that's wrong.
Do you intend to change your style or your tactics at all?
I don't believe I'm doing anything on top of the regulation, in my view. I'm fighting very hard. I'm trying to use every inch. I'm trying to use everything what is within the rules.
Michael Schumacher putting his side of the story. How do you see that, Craig? Do you see him as the bad boy of Formula One?
No, I don't see Michael as a bad boy of Formula One. I think he's driving to the limit. But the thing is, there are certain things that he is getting away with. And it's not for Michael or the drivers to do anything about it, it's for the sport itself to do something about it. I mean, he is a great driver, he's a natural talent, and I personally don't see why he would have to go that far to anger so many drivers, because it's not just a Villeneuve, it's not just a hill.
He was quite dismissive of your man, Jacques, wasn't he?
I noticed that, yeah. But he was also, looking at that interview, it's the first time I've seen it, he was also relatively nervous answering the questions, and that indicates something to me.
Mm. Is it, I mean, it's a natural thing to think that you look after Jacques and Jacques will be fronting up your team next season. Where do things stand in regard to that?
Pardon?
A lot of people go a bit deaf when they sit in that seat, you know.
I didn't understand that line. No, it's absolutely natural. Everybody would think that, and it is what I would love. It's a big dream to have Jacques actually driving in my team. I'll be doing everything I possibly can to get him in there. And I think today maybe Williams is helping me out a lot, so I should go along and thank Frank Williams.
Really? You wouldn't care to expand on that a little bit, would you?
Well, I think the performance of a World Championship winning team in a year where they've got a world champion and #1 in the car is relatively disappointing. And the reaction time, meaning the time it's taken them to change the car, is disappointing for that type of team. And I think their efforts are maybe going elsewhere and they're not really thinking about next year.
That will probably be one of the main criteria, be thinking about their reaction time this year when he's making a decision if he's going to join you or stay with Williams. I mean, Patrick Head said last night he's convinced he's going to stay with them.
Right. We'll follow it very closely, Craig. Don't worry about that. Okay, well, Manicourt is slightly a law unto itself. It's the smoothest circuit of them all. It's very susceptible to any slight change in the weather. Let's rejoin James Allen now with an insight into some of the strategies for this afternoon's French Grand Prix.
This is a race that none of the championship contenders can afford to lose, and the outcome today may well be decided on pit stop strategy. Judging from the times in this morning's warm-up, it's going to be very, very close at the front. Both teams, McLaren and Ferrari, look set to make 2 stops. But what's very interesting is this is the first race of the season where the Goodyear tyre on the Ferrari is arguably better than the Bridgestone tyre on the McLaren. But Ferrari is 6 kilometres an hour slower than the McLarens in a straight line, so Schumacher will find it hard to pass on the track. His best chance will come in the pit stops, and crucially, he's able to get the Ferrari into the pit stop zone 0.4 of a second faster than either McLaren driver can manage. Another factor today could be Eddie Irvine. Remember the strategic role he played for Ferrari at Suzuka last year? He's 4th on the grid today and may well play a similar spoiling role. So clearly it's going to be a fascinating team strategic battle. The critical thing is going to be the timing of those pit stops.
Thank you, James. Well, Craig, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And all I can say is the very best of luck for next year.
Going to need it. Thanks.
I don't know about that. I think it might be just okay. Now then, Manicourt, as we've been saying, is right in the middle of France. Sometimes it feels as though you're in the middle of nowhere. It's a pretty awkward place to get to as well. But here's 1 or 2 things that you see when you arrive.
We're right bang smack in the middle of sort of rural France here, and unless you're into cow spotting or something, then there's not a lot going on.
There is nothing here. You can go to Nevers, which is like half an hour down the road that way, but we normally stay in a hotel half an hour that way.
Very, very big crowd despite the World Cup going on. And when you rejoin us, Martin Brundle will be taking a promenade down the grid. Around about 70,000 people were waiting for the start of the French Grand Prix in about a quarter of an hour's time. It's time to join Martin Brundle down there on the grid. Martin, you know this place pretty well. You used to work here, didn't you?
Yeah, before I got a serious job in TV, I used to drive these racing cars a bit, and Ligier's factory, who I drove for a couple of years, is based on the first corner here. Anyway, here we are on the grid. Remember when we did this in Monte Carlo, we had megastars galore to talk to. For some reason, they haven't made it to Manicourt. I can't think why. But anyway, well, that's other than you, Keith, of course. You're the one and only megastar on the grid. But let's have a little look around, see who's doing. I've seen my old team boss here, Eddie Jordan. Ed.
Marty, how are you?
So, very good, thanks. Long time, yeah, exactly.
Brings back some memories to both of us, I think.
Yeah, it does, and mostly good ones, thankfully. But Ralph had some kind of problem on his car, yeah?
The fuel hatch opened a couple of times and he wasn't happy about the fuel pressure, so rather than take the problem, we still had time because we could change to the T car if we wanted to. It's always a risk doing that, of course, so it's better to fix the problem if it's fixable, and it can be sure to be fixed, and that's what's happened.
So you're team boss. Do you get involved in a decision like that?
Well, obviously I hear what's happening, and if there was a decision that I really dislike, but basically I have very capable people who run the technical side of it so efficiently, much better than I could ever do, so leave it to the people who know what they're doing.
Well, you were unlucky not to get some points in Canada. 0 points on the board. I hesitate to mention it, but it's a fact. What will it mean to you today to get some points?
The one great encouraging feature, we had such a bad race in Monaco. We went again to Canada and we ran third and a little bit for a short while with Damon in second place. And I think that gave everybody involved in the team the encouragement. We also had a new engine to qualify. We now have that engine here from Honda for the race for the first time. So it is important to get points, but no one knows how it's going to pan out. But I think our time is coming that we will be able to score points on a fairly frequent basis. So I'm much more encouraged, I have to say.
Well, you've got the third row of the grid here, so you've got your best chance of the year for a tippity top result, and it must be a bit necessary, yeah?
Well, like everything else, whether it's football, motorsport, any sport whatsoever, there's always pressure. Now everything is so commercially orientated, you have to give a return for the value and for the investment that people are investing in you. So, yes, there are pressures, but the sponsors and the people behind us are patient. They know that it's coming, and I have to, of course, convince them that it is coming. But there is real signs of improvement, and once that's there, I think you can cope with that.
Right, hope you can deliver today, Ed. See you later. Bye-bye. You coming with me, Keithy? Let's have a look and see. I want to have a quick word with Gerard, the tyre man, if he's not too busy. Gerard, quick word. What's your responsibilities on the grid, Gerard? What have you got to look out for? You're a tyre man here for Damon Hill's car.
I'm not actually tyre man anymore. I might make sure everything goes okay with the guys.
All right, you used to be tyre man for me a long time ago then. You've obviously been promoted since then. What's your role on the grid?
Make sure that the trolley gets out here, everything's on the trolley that the guys are going to need. Make sure the tyres are correct. And once the guys take the wheels off, put them back on there, get them rewrapped for the pit stops.
Okay, are you nervous? Do you feel a huge responsibility, or is it you're professionals, you take it in your stride?
Yeah, it's, you get used to it over the year. Yeah, a little bit over the years, though. You just get, you do it every other weekend. First few races of the year, it's a bit nerve-wracking, but as the races progress,
But you guys all have a clear procedure. You all know exactly what you have to do on the grid, yeah?
Oh, yeah, everybody comes out here. They know what they've got to do.
And do you guys have a briefing before you come to the grid? Is there like a team briefing and you get it pumped up and you just be clear, or does it all fall into place?
The number one's on the car. We'll have a meeting with the engineer after they've had a discussion with the driver, tell them what the sort of race plan is. But we just sort of get told, we'll ask the engineer how many stops and everything.
Okay, so, if the car breaks down, comes in the pits, everybody must be a bit nervous. Oh, God, I hope it's not something I forgot to do.
Yeah. But the guys all sort of, 9 times out of 10, it's something that just breaks. It's out of their control. They're all professionals who've been doing it a long time, so.
Okay, good stuff. And, well, that's what's going on here in the Jordan area, and back to you in the studio.
Well done, Martin. Liz Hurley, Bernie Eccleston, Gerard the tyre man. They all want to chat to him down there. They're queuing up, Tony, to talk to him down there.
They certainly are. I'll tell you what, Ralf Schumacher better make a good start today, hadn't he, after his mess-ups in Canada. Twice he's done that. He's got a brand new clutch, he tells us, and last week he had a huge crash here alongside Michael Schumacher, Heinz-Harald Frenz. All three Germans crashed heavily. So he's under a lot of pressure, and then he practiced all his starts at the end of the session last week. So he's hoping to get away cleanly.
Right, let's have a word with a man who's been getting away very cleanly all season. Eddie Irvine, 4th quickest in qualifying, and talking now to Louise.
What's the plan of attack today, Eddie?
Attack? No, we got to take the race to McLaren. Got to put pressure on them. See what happens.
Have you got a specific role to play?
Yeah, beat the McLarens. It's fairly simple.
But how are you going to go about doing that? I mean, have you got to just get them at the start, or are you going to be playing a role supporting Michael? Give us a bit more.
No, I got to try and beat the McLarens. Hopefully Michael gets hacking and I get Coulthard at the start. It's going to be tough. They've made good starts all year. But things change.
How are you going to beat them? At the start, in the pit stops? Where do you think is your best chance?
Don't care. Just as long as we beat them. Doesn't matter where we do it, just as long as we cross that line before them. It's not going to be easy, but temperature coming up probably helps us a little bit, I think. We'll see.
We'll see 4 podiums out of the last 5 for Fast Eddie. Rubens Barrichello we saw there. We also saw Jos Verstappen, Jos the boss, a couple of moments ago. He's back with a big fan club as well. Mika Hakkinen, though, still with the bookmakers, the odds-on favourite for the championship leader, and going exceptionally well here in Manicourt, taking pole position once again. Just taking a look outside. Looks a beautiful day. Fair bit of rain around this morning, but clear at the moment for the upcoming French Grand Prix. Heinz-Harald Frenz, who's threatening. He's very happy with the way his car has been set up for the race. 19 degrees, I'm told, the temperature. Well, last time the Canadian Grand Prix had everything, including a double dose of mayhem at the start. Stand by for the next installment.